Yo, what up? It is another Metagore Monday, and today, as the title suggests, I will be talking about the gods of the 8 divides. If you don't know what the gods of the 8 divides are, go buy my book, The Battle for Metagore. Links down below. Go check it out. It's the religion, basically, created for that book. It is the main sole religion of the kingdom of Metagore as a whole. Which I say as a whole because Metagore is divided into 6 kingdoms in a sense. It was originally 6 different kingdoms. It got brought together as one unified kingdom. The book starts, breaks out at the beginning. The kingdoms kind of fall back into their 6 original kingdoms, realms, whatever, and they're fighting a civil war. So that's just kind of break down the book. But either way, the religion over the entirety of the kingdom is the gods of the 8 divides. It hasn't always been like that. You can go check out some blogs on my channel, on links down below. There's some history between the different kingdoms or whatever on my blog. It tells you different stuff. There is one kingdom that had a different religion originally, but has eventually and now has adopted the gods of the 8 divides. Now, I know I've told this to some people, the title Gods of the 8 Divides, and they're like, you mean the gods of the 8 divines? No, not divines, divides. I know what the fuck I mean. But it's basically, they took everything and divided it into 8 different categories. Like how we have the 4 elements, earth, wind, water, fire. They took those 4 and then they've added 4 other things. So that's what those are. There are 8 gods. There is Aphrodite, which is the goddess of peace. There's Artis, which is the god of the water or of the sea. There's Iden, which is the god of the moon and stars. There is Liberus, the god of war and strength. You got Nyah, the goddess of life and death. You have Tak, which is the god of fire. And then you have Trellis, which is the goddess of the land. And then you got Zala, which is the god of the sky. So I'm going to break these down for y'all, kind of give y'all a little bit more in-depth insights of each of the gods. I'm going to start with Zala and then work my way backwards alphabetically. The first is Zala, the god of wind, or sky or air or whatever. It's that element. It is depicted as a rare breed of bird and is believed to be the last of that breed, which is a large bird with colorful feathers. It's almost rainbow colored. It's got different shades, whether it's reds and yellows and orange and blues and greens and whatever. It's just different shades of different colors as its feathers. And it actually does not live in Metagore, the continent of Metagore. It doesn't even reside in that. It got its name because it actually resides in the continent of Lafir, which you'll see a little bit of that continent and some of the kingdoms. I think the kingdom of Summerforge in book 2, Sovereign Duties, as well as you'll see both kingdoms, Summerforge and Novelli, in my side project that I've kind of been working on, The Gift of a Child. But in that continent, in the kingdom of Summerforge, there is a mountain called Mount Zala, which is where the bird resides in, and which is where it's got its name, Zala, because it's Mount Zala, and it lives up at the top, whatever. That's where it's kind of got its nest, that's where it resides, that's just whatever. And it's kind of ironic that the people of Metagore worship that being as a god when it doesn't even live in Metagore. It lives in Lafir, and Lafir does not represent it as a god. They do attribute it to the weather patterns and such, but they don't believe it as high of an entity as a god. So that is a little irony, I guess, there. But Metagore has adopted those beliefs, but do put Zala as a high position of a god to them. And just kind of mention it now, since I just mentioned it with Zala. These are living gods in a sense. They're not all in the story. You can pick up the Battle for Metagore and read it. Their names are all in there, usually with some rituals. I think with the funeral, with maybe the coronation ceremony. I don't think so, but I know the funeral they're in there, and then there's other times that they're kind of mentioned, but they are not all present in the story, and they probably won't all be present throughout the series either, but they all are represented or believed to be depicted as something that actually existed at one point or another. Some of these are dead, or whatever, passed on, but they still worship them as a god, if that makes sense. The next one would be Trellis, which is the goddess of the land. She was originally believed to be the goddess of the land, earth, the trees, the plants, the foliage and stuff like that, the crops and all that. That's what she was originally believed to be as. She was also one of the gods that the Iberians, I had mentioned earlier how they had their own religion. They had two gods, Adazol and Trellis. Trellis was the goddess of the plants and stuff that they ate on, and Adazol was the god of the actual wildlife and such. Once they converted over into the gods of the eight divides, the rest of the believers, the other kingdoms, they went ahead and adopted Trellis from being just the goddess of the land, like trees and plants and stuff, to being the goddess of the land in terms of the plants and the wildlife and all that. So they adapted that wildlife from Adazol into Trellis, so the Iberians were more accepting of their change, so they could still worship one of the gods that they had originally worshipped, and it kind of covered the whole span of things that they worshipped in a sense. Trellis was also one of the original Elestrians. If you go to my blog, there's a history. It was like, I think, the beginning or in the beginning, creation of existence or whatever for the Lands of the Abyss. I can't remember exactly what the title is, but there's a blog on there. It's a history type blog. And it kind of goes about the creation of the different races, and it kind of goes over what's known as the Great Expanse, or when the seas expanded, as they refer to it as. Trellis is one of the original Elestrians, which that is kind of described in that blog, what Elestrians are. Elestrians are the first race that inhabited the planet. They were elemental beings created in the likeness of their creator. And Trellis was one of the original Elestrians, and her element was land, the earth. There was 4 of each element created, so there's 16 original, what they're called, the first children. So there's 16 of them, 4 of each element, 2 male and 2 female. Trellis was one of the female earth ones. Once the Great Expanse started, you can actually find out more about that in that blog, but it was basically the land started to divide, and everybody kind of fled the land in boats and set sail, trying to escape all the land being contaminated and falling apart, and all the earthquakes and all that stuff. While they was sailing, Trellis was actually granted the power to create land. Prior to that, she did not have the ability to actually create large land masses. She could create like a hill or something like that, but she couldn't create an entire continent. She was one of the few faithful people, Elestrians or any of the other children, that was still faithful to their creator. So their creator decided to gift her the power of creating large land masses. So she actually created some of the lands of the abyss, and that is why she's still kind of worshipped as a goddess, because she actually created a lot of the lands. The next one is Tak, which is the god of fire. Tak is actually one of the people who set in motion the events that actually caused the Great Expanse, which is basically happened because some of the Elestrians were getting upset with all the other races and the other children, which is how they referred to themselves at first. You had the first children, which was the Lestrians. The second children were Jinns. The third children were Elves. The fourth children were Liches, and so on and so forth. Each race was a different tier of children. And the Lestrians were kind of getting mad about the overpopulation with other races, their other children. And some of them started to contaminate and poison some of the land to, kill off some of these other races. And, their creator was angry at it. And then finally someone prayed to their creator to get rid of all of this contamination, all this poisoning, and all that stuff, to rid the land of all of that. So what their creator did was just destroyed the land. She's getting pissed off with all the other stuff going on, all the bickering between her children and stuff. So she destroyed the land. She shattered it into multiple lands. It was kind of like a Pangea, I believe is what's called, when the Earth was believed to be one giant continent, and then eventually, it separated into the 7 continents that we have now. It was kind of like that effect. It was a large landmass that was surrounded by water, and then the landmass, started breaking apart and shifting about, and they call it the Great Expanse because the land expanding, separated from each other, and the waters, it was relatively small, tight. They didn't really go too far into the water, so they believed once that happened, since it engulfed a giant globe of planets or whatever, that the seas itself expanded to make their journey after they sailed away from that to seem even longer than what it actually was. So Tak was one of those that actually kind of started contaminating the land that led up to that. He was a very hot-headed person. He was a fire elemental. He liked conflict. He was very strong. He liked to butt heads and stuff like that. So just that fiery attitude, in a sense, kind of donned him the title of God, the god of fire. The next one is Nyah, the goddess of life and death. Now Nyah, she isn't, or one of those elements, obviously. She was one of the earlier succubi, which, if y'all don't know what succubi is, it's, at least for my story, I took different races and kind of tweaked them a little bit to kind of fit my story. I didn't want them all to be, all of one race be evil, all of one race be good. I wanted, neutral. Some could be good, some could be bad, some whatever. So their attitude and presence aren't all the same. Succubi are usually referred to as more demonic type creatures. In my story, they're not. They are neutral. There are some demonic like creatures and there are some that's not. But in general, it's just neutral. But succubus in my story is basically an elf that has wings. They are maybe slightly taller than elves, but they are very humanoid, got the pointy ears, and then they have feathered wings. And then the incubi, which is the male equivalent of succubi, are the same. They are humanoid figure, pointed ears like an elf, and then they have wings. So that's what a succubi is, and that's what Nyah is portrayed as, because that's who Nyah was. She is one of them that is dead because she no longer lives. But the reason why she got titled the goddess of life and death is because she was one of the earlier succubi. So she helped populate the land of succubi and incubi, and she would have sex with her sons just to give her more children and such like that. And she had over 700 children altogether. And when she died, it was rumored that her sons had killed themselves as well because they were longing to be with her, to be with their mother, to be with their lover and stuff. So a lot of her sons, a lot of the incubi, committed suicide just so that they could be with her. So she got donned the title of goddess of life and death. Life because she basically birthed the whole race of succubi at that point in time, And then death, because when she died, most of her children died as well. So they kind of worship her in that sense. Liberus is depicted as a dragon. He is a dragon. You do see him in the Battle for Metagore. So if you go by it and you read it, he is in there multiple times. But he is the god of war and strength. He is depicted as a dragon. He lives in the volcano Mount Dumas of centuries. There's only ever 2 dragons are alive at any given point in time. There's always a male and a female. Dragons are born as emojis, which emojis are a prototype dragon. They are like the Chinese dragon. They're just kind of serpentine. They can hover. They got really short legs, if any. They don't have wings or anything like that. But there's only ever 2 actual dragons. Liberus is one. In the story, Tiamat is the other. Liberus is male, Tiamat is female. There's only ever 2. Once one of them dies, the oldest emoji will become a dragon. That's just how they kind of ascend into a dragon. And they take on whatever gender the one that died is. All emojis are asexual, I think that's what it is. Asexual. They don't have a gender. They can't reproduce. They don't have, whatever. But the dragons can, and they are what lay eggs. And that's how emojis are born, because that's how dragons are born. And then the oldest emoji will transcend or ascend into a dragon once one of the other dragons dies. Liberus is the oldest dragon that they've known. He was alive before the Great Expanse, which happened thousands upon thousands of years before the story of the Battle for Metagore ever takes place. So before any of that, he was still around then. And then he's still around now, so they believe him to be immortal, basically. And he's a dragon. He's very strong and tough and very conquering. He slaughtered a lot of the other dragons in mating rituals, in a sense. So they believe him to be, the embodiment of war and strength. So that's what they worship as the god of war and strength. His name, Liberus, is actually, I mentioned earlier how Zala is from Lefir. Liberus is actually originally, before the Great Expanse, was from a different land called Panora, or what is now called Panora. Libra is the PMC word for dragon. They don't believe him as a god, but they do believe him as a very powerful dragon, a dragon that is the embodiment of war. And the word Libra is their word for dragon. So that's what they just call dragons in general. And then the people of Metagore adopted that word, Libra, changed it slightly to Liberus, and that's the name that they gave the dragon, their god of war and strength. The next god is Iden. Iden is the god of the moon and stars. Now, when I say the god of moon and stars and how it's referred to in the book, it's not necessarily talk about the moon and stars in the sky. It is some. They believe, like a lot of cultures and religions believe, that the heavens or the afterlife or whatever is up above us, in a sense, as well as astronomers and such refer to outer space as the heavens. So it's the god of moon and stars is more referring to the afterlife, but also in the sense of it's up in the moon and stars. Their heaven is referred to as the starlands. When you die, you either go to the starlands or the frozen void of the moon. So the moon and stars, that's a hell and a heaven type of mentality. And I believe the starlands is more the better. All the stars are people that's passed on before us, and they're, watching over them. And then the moon, since the moon has different phases, half moon, quarter moon, whatever they believe, that it is actually being eaten and that's when the moon gets smaller, and then it gets bigger again. It's like starts over the process, so you're constantly being tortured. If you go to the frozen void of the moon, you are constantly being eaten and tortured, in a sense. As well as all that, Iden is depicted as a canine humanoid, almost like Anubis is in the Egyptian mythology and such. He's like a humanoid canine. And that's why, because the moon and stars, you think of a wolf or something howling at the moon, kind of guardian, that kind of ordeal. And also the moon, when it goes through its stages, they believe that it is Iden that's taking bites out of the moon every night to make it slightly smaller until it's all gone. So that is their beliefs. So when you die, you want to go to the Starlands. And also, Iden is the only one of these 8 gods that does not and has not ever actually existed in a physical form, and where, you know, you could actually see him. Like I said, Trellis and Tak were actual Alestrians that had lived at one point. Liberis is an actual dragon. Zala is an actual bird. Nyah was a succubi that actually lived. Iden has never actually lived anywhere. He's just a god entity depicted that way. And then the next one is Artis. Artis is the god of the sea, of the water. Artis is depicted as a hippocampus. Hippocampus is a half horse, half fish type sea creature that swims in the ocean. It's literally a seahorse. It is a pale color. It's almost like an albino hippocampus, and he is credited for the safe travels of the different children after the Great Expanse and the creation of the new lands. Whenever they actually decided to sail back to their old lands to see what had become of it, see if it existed, you know, whatever, and start settling back into the lands that used to be unified. The artist was credited for their safe travels. There was rumors and other folklore and fairy tales of people seeing this albino hippocampus out in the waters, especially when, you know, storms came along or other sea creatures or whatever started to appear. That hippocampus would appear and it would kind of protect the sailors out on the open water. So that was like their guardian. That was who was protecting them. So as time went on, they started to worship Artis as the god of the sea. And then the last one is Freya, which you also see her in the Battle for Metagore. So again, go click that link down below, buy yourself a copy, and you can read all about her and her non-godly actions, I guess. She is the goddess of peace. Ironically, she is not very peaceful. She has been titled that by mortals, as she calls them, because she doesn't like being titled goddess, so she makes sure she titles non-goddess or gods or goddesses or whatever mortals, just, you know, out of disrespect. But she was titled goddess by the mortals because she used to actually perform miracles, in a sense. If somebody needed something or wanted help with something or whatever, and they prayed to her, she would, you know, help them out. She would ease their suffering. She would bring peace to them. She would, you know, feed their family. She would do whatever. She would actually perform all these miracles, in a sense. And people started worshiping her as this goddess of peace. She also goes by many other names. She is actually depicted as a goddess in many of the religions on the planet, which I'm not going to go into all of them because this isn't about all those, but she is depicted in other religions across the entire globe as one or more of the gods or goddesses or whatever. She is the true one god. She is the one that actually created everything. Her name is not actually Freya. That is the name that they gave her. Freya, the real Freya, was not a goddess, was not anybody that was actually ever known. She was a lich that actually like to help out other people as well, and use that her magical abilities to help anybody in need. And she eventually passed on, and then that's when this Aphrodite, the goddess, actually kind of took over and started kind of doing the same things, and that's when people started calling her Aphrodite as well. Her real name is Dejira. You don't really learn that until the second book, which I'm currently writing, Sovereign Duties. She's also featured in The Gift of a Child, which is my side project, and she goes by a different name in that. And she goes by a bunch of other names. You'll actually learn more about her as a being in the second Metagore book, Sovereign Duties. But she is the one true God. Her real name is Dejira. She is the one that created all this. She is the one that caused the Great Expanse because she got pissed off at people. She is very powerful, and it's displayed in the first book that her magical abilities do not abide by the magical laws of the other races. Because it's, in my world, there's a simple magic law that you cannot use magic on any living thing, whether it is a person, a form of wildlife, plants, whatever. If it is alive, you cannot use magic on it. You can use magic on things around it, surrounding it, whatever, towards it, but you cannot use it on that thing in general. One example, you cannot set a person on fire. You could set their clothes on fire, which in turn that person would burn, but you cannot set the person themselves on fire, and other things like that. So there is a scene in the first book where she uses her magic directly onto the person, a person, and he's like, what's this dark power or dark magic that you have? And then she just kind of mocks him. Like, I thought I was a goddess, Why do y'all call me a goddess? And then when I actually display my goddessness, y'all question, how I'm capable of doing it, in a sense. Which is one of the reasons why she doesn't like mortals, just because of their thought process, I guess. And also just because of other things. She talks about in the story something about her being called a goddess of peace, and then somebody questions her about how can you be the goddess of peace if you're doing all this other bad stuff. And she's like, I never called myself the goddess of peace. Y'all call me that. So don't ask me why I can be the goddess of peace and do all these horrible things. I never said I was the goddess of peace. Y'all said that. So that's just kind of her attitude. She's very just, I don't like you, leave me alone. Which she hasn't always been like that. She used to be nicer and stuff, but as the years went on and people quit worshiping her or quit worshiping her as her and started worshiping her because they thought she was somebody else, and just the way that all of her children started acting towards each other and towards her, she just kind of grew bitter and is now just very grumpy, I guess, in a sense. So yeah, but that's the 8 gods of the 8 divides. I hope this was a very informative video for any of y'all that are interested in the religion that I've created. I plan on doing a video very soon about kind of some steps to create your own religion. So if you want to add a made up religion into your fantasy or whatever story, I'll be making a video about that very soon, hopefully, and it should be up, and I hope y'all enjoy that. But besides that, like I said, this is my Metagore Monday. I figure I'll just kind of talk about this. If y'all got any ideas about what y'all want me to do for Metagore Monday next month or any other month, let me know. Give me some ideas. There's a couple other ideas I still got floating around that I plan on doing. But anything that y'all want done, I will try to do sooner, because I know y'all want it or whatever. So yeah, y'all can just go ahead and let me know, comment down below, message me on Facebook, whatever. I'll see what I can do. If y'all got any ideas for any other videos that y'all might help with, any how-tos or any other just random videos, if you want me to do more day in the life type vlogs, you know, how-to videos, certain riding tags that y'all might want me to participate in and do, and I'll do that. Or, you know, whatever. I've got some other ideas. I actually have a friend, I haven't asked her yet, but I'm planning on seeing if she wants to do just like a Q&A live chat video with me at some point. I don't know. Like I said, she doesn't know about this. I haven't asked her. She might say no, so oh well. But if she does, that would be amazing. I think y'all might enjoy that. Okay, I don't know. But anyways, that's about it for this video. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Click the like button, click the subscribe button, ring that bell so you know whenever I upload new videos. I usually upload every Monday with some bonus videos at times on Thursdays. I don't know how many more bonus videos I'm going to do. I haven't done any the past couple weeks. Don't really have any planned for this week or anything else, but you never know, it might happen. So that's why you ring that bell, just so you know exactly when I upload, so you're not coming back on Monday and be like, oh hey, I also missed another video at some point. So yeah, that's all for that. All my links to buy my book, The Battle for Metagore, right there. All those links are down below. You can go check that out. Buy it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books Depository, Indigo, IndieBound, Walmart, I think has it, or whatever else. You know, there's a bunch of links down there. There's probably some places that have it that's not linked down there, but that's where I found and just what I put in my list. There's also a list of author tubers links down below to their channels. They usually do write-ins during the week at different times. That schedule is also down there below that list. So if you want to participate in some writing during the week, those write-in schedules down below along with the person's channel links and all that stuff, so you can go check that out. I'll try to be on some of those streams. I won't be able to make all of them, but I try to make a couple a week at least. At times I do writing streams on my channel, always last minute, so I can't really give you any heads up on that except maybe like 30 minutes before, if that. So yeah, that's about it. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, here on YouTube. Like I said earlier, I got a website linked down below. I got a bunch of blogs on there, all the history of the different kingdoms within Metagore, as well as the history of the creation of the planets and the creation of the different races. It doesn't go in detail with all the races, but it does let you know that there's 24 races and does name off some of the races and the order that they're in. And then it kind of goes into the whole great expanse and the whole ordeal and time frame as well. I might at some point actually add a blog on there about these gods of the 8 divides, maybe some of the other religions as well. Kind of compile all that. I don't know, haven't done it yet, but I might at some point. Also, I got some writing tags on my blog as well, some book reviews. If you got a book you want me to do or to read, review, whatever, just hit me up. I have an author services tab on my website. You can go there, click it, and it'll tell you what you gotta do just to send me something for me to either read and review, like an ARC review or whatever, and do a blog book review for it. Or, you know, if you are looking for a critique partner or alpha or a beta reader or something like that, you know, it'll let you know what you gotta do for that. It's all free. I don't charge. I think that's stupid. I'm just reading it. If anything, y'all should charge, but I'm not paying for a book, so don't try to send me something and tell me I gotta pay for it, because I'm not doing it. But yeah, that's there. I'm gonna have a newsletter on my website. You can go click on it. Sign up. You get the first 2 books, or the first 2 chapters of my debut novel, The Battle for Metagore, sent to you for free for you to be able to read it, to see if you actually want to purchase it. You know, see if it is anything that you're interested in, if it's any good, if I know what I'm talking about, you know, whatever. So you can go click on there, sign up, read it, whatever. Also, all the buy links for my book is on there as well. I have all kinds of random things on my blog. I have song lyrics, which I'll probably be posting more of those as well, because I know a lot of y'all seem to enjoy reading that and some of that backstory between some of those lyrics. So yeah, I might do some more of those. And I don't know. I'm just kind of rambling now. So yeah, I guess that's about it. Peace out. Everybody love everybody.